I learned early that beauty could be a curse. The first time I saw my reflection clearly, really saw it, I was 5 years old. My grandfather held me up to the mirror in our small bathroom, his weathered hands steady beneath my arms. The fluorescent light buzzed overhead, casting harsh shadows across my face, illuminating the patches of pale skin that sprawled across my cheeks, my neck, down my arms like spilled milk. "Do you see?" he whispered, his breath warm against my ear. "The moon kissed you, Sungwoo. She loved you so much she couldn't help but leave her mark." I touched the patches with small fingers, tracing the irregular borders where pale met tan. "The other kids say I'm cursed. The other kids are fools." His voice was firm but gentle. "You are extraordinary." But extraordinary wasn't what I wanted to be. I wanted to be invisible. My mother died 3 days after I was born. Complications, they said, though the whispers in our village told a different story. The Omega's body rejected him. The marked child drained her life. He killed her. Even at 5, even at 10, even at 15, I heard those whispers follow me like ghosts. My grandfather was the only one who touched me without hesitation, who kissed my forehead where the vitiligo bloomed like frost across my skin. Everyone else kept their distance, not always cruelly but carefully, as though my difference might be contagious. Being an Omega made it worse. In our small village outside Seoul, Omegas were already viewed as lesser, softer, weaker, meant to submit and serve. But an Omega with vitiligo? An Omega who supposedly killed his own mother? I was something to be pitied at best, despised at worst. I learned to make myself small. I kept my head down in school, spoke only when spoken to, wore long sleeves even in summer. I became a shadow, drifting through the halls, trying desperately not to be seen. It never worked. Freak, they'd hiss when teachers weren't listening. Spotted dog. Ghost face. I endured. What else could I do? High school was a blur of survival. I studied obsessively, not because I loved learning but because good grades were my only escape route. If I could get into university in Seoul, I could leave. I could disappear into the anonymity of the city where no one knew my story, where I was just another face in the crowd. The day I received my acceptance letter to Seoul National University, I wept in my grandfather's arms. "I'm so proud of you," he murmured, stroking my hair. "But promise me something, Sungwoo. Promise me you won't forget that you're worthy of love. Not despite these marks, but including them. You're whole. You are beautiful." I promised. I lied. Because deep down I didn't believe him. How could I, when the world had spent 18 years teaching me otherwise? Seoul swallowed me whole and I was grateful for it. In the city I was nobody. Just another university student cramming for exams, living in a cramped studio apartment, eating cheap ramen and studying until my eyes burned. I kept my head down. Made no friends. Attracted no attention. It was lonely but it was safe. I graduated with honors in business administration. Not because I had grand ambitions but because it seemed practical, stable. I applied to dozens of companies and accepted the first offer I received. A junior position at a mid-sized manufacturing firm. The pay was barely enough to cover rent and food. The work was tedious. My cubicle was gray and cramped, tucked in the back corner where natural light never reached. But I was invisible. For 2 years I was blessedly, peacefully invisible. Until Director Kong noticed me. Director Kong was a beta in his late 40s with a beer gut, thinning hair, and a voice that could strip paint. He'd been with the company for 15 years, had survived 3 different CEOs, and ruled his department like a petty tyrant. I don't know what I did to catch his attention. Maybe I stayed late one too many times trying to finish a project. Maybe someone mentioned I was an Omega. Maybe he was just bored and needed a new target. It started small. "Ya Lee Sungwoo." His voice would boom across the office. "This report is garbage. Do it again." I'd bow my head. "Yes, director." And stand up straight when I'm talking to you. "What are you, a dog?" Laughter from my co-workers. Nervous, uncomfortable, but still laughter. No one ever said anything. No one ever stepped in. Then he noticed my skin. "What the hell is wrong with your face?" he demanded one day, leaning over my desk, his coffee breath hot against my cheek. "Some kind of disease? You're not contagious, are you?" "It's vitiligo, director. Just a pigmentation condition. Looks disgusting." He straightened, loud enough for everyone to hear. "An Omega and deformed. Your parents must have been so disappointed." My hands clenched beneath my desk. My chest felt tight. But I smiled, that blank, empty smile I'd perfected over the years. "I'll work harder, director." "Damn right you will." It escalated over months. He'd find excuses to call me into his office, berating me for imaginary mistakes, keeping me late to redo work that didn't need redoing. He'd make comments about my appearance, my designation, my attitude problem, whenever I failed to show sufficient gratitude for his abuse. I endured. I always endured. But endurance has limits. The night it happened, I'd been at the office until nearly midnight, fixing a presentation Director Kong had deliberately sabotaged by deleting half the slides an hour before I was supposed to present it to clients. My hands shook as I worked, exhaustion and stress bleeding together into a nauseating cocktail. When I finally finished, the office was empty, or so I thought. I was at the elevator, pressing the button with trembling fingers, when I heard his voice. "Leaving so soon, Sungwoo-shi?" I turned. Director Kong stood in the hallway, jacket off, tie loosened, a predatory gleam in his bloodshot eyes. He'd been drinking. I could smell the soju from 10 feet away. "I finished the presentation, Director. It's on your desk. You think you can just leave? After embarrassing me in front of the clients last week?" I apologized for that." "You apologized?" He stepped closer. "You think an apology from a defective Omega means anything?" I backed against the elevator doors. "Please, Director. It's late. I should. You know what your problem is? Another step. You don't know your place. You need someone to teach you what Omegas are good for." Fear spiked through me sharp and cold. The elevator was taking too long. The stairwell was on the other side of him. There was nowhere to go. "Director Kong, please." "Please what?" He was close enough to touch now, reaching for my wrist. "Going to cry? Going to tell HR? Who do you think they'll believe, me or some freak who can't even?" "That's enough." The voice came from behind Director Kong, low, controlled, and absolutely frigid. Director Kong spun around. "Who the hell?" and froze. The man who'd appeared in the hallway was tall, easily 6 feet, with broad shoulders filling out an obviously expensive charcoal suit. His face was all sharp angles, high cheekbones, a strong jaw, dark eyes that looked like they could cut glass. His black hair was styled back, revealing his forehead, and his presence. God, his presence filled the entire hallway like a pressure system. Alpha. Every instinct in my body screamed it. Powerful Alpha. "I asked who the hell you are," Director Kong blustered, but his voice had lost its edge. Alphas could sense other alphas, and even drunk, even cruel, he recognized danger. Day one, the man said simply. "CEO of One Industries." The color drained from Director Kang's face. Even I knew that name. One Industries was one of the largest conglomerates in South Korea, with subsidiaries in everything from tech to real estate. And this man. "Sir, I didn't realize." Director Kong stammered. "Step away from him." Day One's voice hadn't risen, but it carried absolute authority. Director Kong stepped back immediately. Day One moved forward, positioning himself between us. He didn't touch me, but his presence alone felt like a shield. "What's your name?" he asked quietly, his eyes still on Director Kong. "Lee Sungwoo," I whispered. "Sungwoo-shi, has this man been harassing you?" I couldn't speak. My throat had closed up entirely. Day One glanced back at me, and for just a moment, his expression softened. "You don't have to answer now. But I promise you he won't hurt you again." He turned back to Director Kong. "You're fired. Security will escort you out. You'll receive formal termination paperwork in the morning, along with notice that One Industries has acquired a controlling interest in this company. Any attempt to seek employment in Seoul's business sector will be inadvisable." "You can't." "I can." Day One pulled out his phone, typed something, and within 30 seconds 2 security guards appeared. "Escort this man from the building. If he resists, call the police." As they dragged a sputtering Director Kong away, Day One finally turned to face me fully. Up close, he was even more striking, and more terrifying. His dark eyes studied my face with an intensity that made me want to hide, to cover the patches on my cheeks. But I couldn't move. "Are you hurt?" he asked gently. I shook my head. "Can you get home safely?" Another nod. "Good." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a business card, offering it to me. "If anyone else bothers you, anyone at all, you call that number." "Understood." I took the card with shaking hands. "Why? Why did you help me?" Something flickered in his eyes. Anger, maybe, or pain. "Because someone should have helped you long ago." The elevator dinged. The doors opened. "Go home, Sungwoo-shi. Rest. Things are going to change." I stepped into the elevator, clutching his card, and watched as he turned and walked away. This stranger who'd appeared out of nowhere, this terrifying, powerful man who'd saved me without asking for anything in return. I didn't understand. But God help me, I wanted to. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my tiny apartment, staring at Day One's business card, replaying everything in my mind. His voice. His presence. The way Director Kong had crumbled before him. The gentleness in his eyes when he'd looked at me. Things are going to change. What did that mean? Morning came too quickly. I dragged myself through my routine, shower, dress, eat something I couldn't taste, and headed to the office half expecting to find it unchanged, to discover last night had been some kind of exhaustion-induced hallucination. Instead I found chaos. The lobby was filled with people in expensive suits, all wearing badges that read, One Industries. My coworkers huddled in confused clusters, whispering frantically. And on every desk was a sealed envelope. I found mine on my cubicle. Inside was a formal letter. Effective immediately, One Industries has acquired this company. All current employees will undergo performance review. Director Kong and 7 other managers have been terminated for workplace misconduct. Any employee who has experienced harassment or discrimination is encouraged to report to HR for confidential consultation. Lee Sung-woo, please report to the executive conference room at 9 a.m. My hand shook as I read it. Report to the executive conference room? What? Was I being fired too? At exactly 9 a.m., I knocked on the conference room door. Come in. I stepped inside and froze. One day one sat at the head of a massive table, somehow looking even more imposing in the morning light streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows. He'd removed his jacket, his white shirt rolled up to reveal strong forearms. A tablet sat before him, but his full attention fixed on me the moment I entered. Sung-woo Shi, please sit. I sat, keeping my eyes down. Look at me. Slowly I raised my gaze. His expression was unreadable. How are you feeling? I'm fine, sir. Don't lie to me. His voice was gentle but firm. You were terrorized in your workplace for months, possibly years. You are not fine. My throat tightened. I'm managing, sir. He studied me for a long moment. I've reviewed your file. Your work quality is exceptional. Your evaluations from previous supervisors, before Kong, were outstanding. You have skills this company has been wasting. Thank you, sir. I'm not offering you a compliment, Sung-woo Shi. I'm offering you a choice. He leaned forward. You can stay here. We've cleaned house, implemented new policies, new management. You'll be treated fairly, paid better, respected. Or you can come work for me directly. At One Industries. I stared at him. I don't understand. I need someone with your skills. But more than that. He paused, something vulnerable flickering across his features. I want to make sure you're safe. That no one treats you the way Kong did ever again. Why? The question burst out before I could stop it. Why do you care about some random Omega you don't even know? His jaw tightened. Because I know what it's like to be powerless. Because I've spent my entire life watching people abuse those weaker than them, and I'm tired of standing by. And because he met my eyes. Because when I saw you last night, I saw someone who deserved better. Who deserves everything. My breath caught. You don't have to decide now, he continued. Take time. Think about it. But know that if you accept, you'll have my protection. Always. I should have been suspicious. I should have questioned his motives, wondered what he really wanted. But all I could think was, someone wants to protect me. Not tolerate me. Not pity me. Protect me. I accept, I whispered. A smile transformed his face, small but genuine. Good. Can you start Monday? I nodded, not trusting my voice. Then go home. Rest. I'll have someone contact you with the details. He stood, extending his hand. Welcome to One Industries, Sung-woo Shi. I took his hand. His grip was firm, warm, and for just a moment, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. One Industries occupied the top 15 floors of one of Seoul's most prestigious buildings in Gangnam. The lobby alone was larger than my entire apartment, all marble and glass and modern art that probably cost more than I'd earned in my life. I felt like an imposter the moment I walked in. Lee Sung-woo Shi? A woman in her 30s with kind eyes approached. I'm Park Min-ji, Mr. One's executive assistant. Welcome. Let me show you around. She led me through sleek corridors, past conference rooms with touchscreen walls, break rooms that looked like luxury lounges, and finally to an office on the 20th floor. My office. With windows. And a door that closed. This is yours, Min-ji said warmly. Your access card, laptop, and employee handbook are on the desk. Mr. One wanted me to make sure you were comfortable, so if you need anything at all, just ask. Thank you, I managed. He also wanted you to know that if anyone makes you uncomfortable, you report directly to him. No questions asked. You're under his direct protection. I blinked. His protection? She smiled knowingly. Mr. One doesn't do things halfway. When he decides to care about someone, he's all in. You're lucky. Was I? Or was I stepping into something I didn't understand? The first week was overwhelming. My role was technically Special Projects Coordinator, which apparently meant I worked on whatever day one needed: market analysis, competitor research, presentation preparation. The work was challenging but fascinating, and for the first time in years I felt like my brain was actually being used. But more surprising was how day one treated me. He didn't hover, didn't micromanage. But several times a day he'd stop by my office, always knocking first, to check on me. "How are you settling in? Do you need anything? Don't stay too late. You need rest." It was strange. Disarming. Every instinct I'd developed over 25 years told me to be wary, to wait for the other shoe to drop, to figure out what he really wanted from me. But he never asked for anything except my work. Never commented on my appearance except to ask once if I was feeling well. Never touched me without permission, and even then, it was just professional handshakes or a hand on my shoulder when I'd done good work. Friday afternoon, he knocked on my door just as I was packing up. "Sung Woo-shi, do you have dinner plans?" I froze. "No, sir. Would you join me? There's a place nearby I think you'd like. Consider it a welcome dinner." Every nerve in my body screamed danger. Dinner alone with an alpha? With my boss? But when I looked at his face, I saw only genuine hope, and something that looked almost like nervousness. "I'd like that," I heard myself say. His smile could have lit up the entire building. The restaurant was small, traditional, tucked down a side street I'd walked past 100 times without noticing. The owner greeted day one like an old friend, led us to a private room in the back. "I hope this is okay," day one said as we settled on floor cushions. "I know it's not fancy, but the food is incredible and it's quiet. Private. It's perfect," I said honestly. The warm lighting, the smell of grilling meat, the soft traditional music, it was the opposite of intimidating. He ordered for both of us, and as we waited, an awkward silence fell. "Can I ask you something?" he said finally. "Of course, sir." "Stop calling me sir. We're not in the office. Call me day one." "That's..." I couldn't. "Please." His eyes met mine. "I want you to be comfortable with me, Sungwoo. Not afraid." "I'm not afraid of you," I said quietly. Then, more honestly, "I'm afraid of what you represent." "What do I represent?" "Kindness. Protection. Things I've learned not to trust." Something painful flickered across his face. "Who hurt you so badly that kindness became suspicious?" "Everyone," I wanted to say. Instead, "It's a long story. I have time." And somehow, in that small, warm room, with this powerful man looking at me like I mattered, the story spilled out. My childhood. The bullying. My mother's death and the blame I carried. My grandfather's love. My years of hiding. Director Kong. Day one listened without interrupting, his expression growing darker with each revelation. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "I'm sorry," he said finally, his voice rough. "I'm so sorry that happened to you. That keeps happening to you. You deserved better. You deserve everything." "Why do you keep saying that?" "Because it's true." He leaned forward. "Sungwoo, can I tell you something? That night I saw you, it wasn't random. I'd been at this building for meetings and I was leaving late. I heard Kang's voice, heard the fear in yours. And something in me just snapped. You hate bullies. I despise them." His hands clenched. "My younger sister was an Omega. Gentle, kind, creative. When she was 16, she was bullied so badly at school that she tried to take her own life. I found her in time, got her help, transferred her to a new school. But I swore that day I'd never stand by and watch someone be destroyed for being different. For being vulnerable. Is she okay now? She's an artist in Jeju. Thriving. Happy." He smiled softly. "But I think about what could have happened if I'd been 5 minutes later. And I think about all the people I haven't been there to help. So when I saw you, you couldn't walk away. I didn't want to walk away. And the more I learned about you, the more I..." He stopped himself. "I'm sorry. I'm saying too much." "The more you what?" His eyes met mine and the intensity there stole my breath. "The more I wanted to know you. To protect you. To see you smile. Real smiles, not the fake ones you've learned to hide behind." My heart hammered against my ribs. "Day one. I know this is fast. I know I'm your boss and this is probably incredibly inappropriate. But I can't pretend I don't feel what I feel." He reached across the table, his hand hovering near mine but not quite touching. "I'm drawn to you, Sungwoo. From that first moment. And not despite your vitiligo. I think it's beautiful. You're beautiful. Inside and out." Tears burned my eyes. "No one's ever said that to me. Then everyone you've known has been blind." I let out a wet laugh. "You barely know me. Then let me know you. Please." His voice dropped to almost a whisper. "Let me prove that you can trust this. That you can trust me." I looked at his hand, still hovering near mine, waiting for permission. Looked at his face, open and vulnerable in a way that made my chest ache. Looked at this man who'd upended his entire business to protect me, who'd given me safety and opportunity and now was offering something even more terrifying. Connection. Slowly I reached out and took his hand. His fingers interlaced with mine, warm and steady. "Thank you," he breathed. "For what?" "For giving me a chance." The next few weeks rewrote everything I thought I knew about myself. Day one courted me, there was no other word for it. He brought me coffee every morning the exact way I liked it. Walked me to my car each evening, making sure I got home safely. Sent me texts throughout the day. "Thinking of you. Don't skip lunch. Can't wait to see you." At first I waited for the catch. For the moment when he'd demand something, expect something, reveal what he really wanted. But it never came. He simply cared for me. Patiently. Tenderly. Giving me space when I needed it, closeness when I craved it. We had dinner together twice a week. Sometimes at nice restaurants, sometimes at his apartment where he'd cook for me with surprising skill. We talked about everything, books, movies, childhood dreams, fears we'd never voiced. He told me about building his company from nothing after his father's business collapsed, about the pressure and loneliness of being at the top. I told him about my grandfather's death 2 years ago, about the grief I'd never fully processed. "You loved him very much," Day One said softly one evening as we sat on his balcony, the Seoul skyline glittering before us. "He was the only one who ever made me feel worthy," I admitted. "After he died I felt lost. Like I'd lost my only proof that I deserved to exist." "You exist beautifully." Day One's hand found mine. "And I'm going to spend as long as it takes proving that to you." 1 month into our relationship, if that's what this was, he asked if he could see my skin. We were at his apartment, relaxing after dinner, and I'd been absently scratching at my wrist where my vitiligo extended past my sleeve cuff. "Can I see?" he asked gently. "You're always covered, even when it's warm. I understand if you're not comfortable, but... You want to see the marks? I want to see you." His thumb stroked across my knuckles. "All of you. But only if you're ready." No one had ever asked permission before. They either stared or deliberately looked away, but no one had ever treated it as something I had control over, something I could choose to share. Slowly I rolled up my left sleeve. The vitiligo sprawled up my forearm in irregular patches, pale against my natural skin tone. I'd always hated how random it looked, how chaotic, like someone had spilled bleach across my body. Day One's breath caught. "May I?" I nodded. He took my arm gently, cradling it in his hands, and traced the patterns with his fingertips, so carefully, so reverently, like I was made of something precious. "Your grandfather was right," he murmured. "The moon did kiss you. It's just a pigmentation disorder. It's beautiful." He lifted my arm to his lips and pressed a kiss to one of the pale patches. "Every part of you is beautiful." Something broke open in my chest. I'd been holding myself together for so long, keeping all the hurt locked away, but his tenderness shattered my defenses. I started crying. Immediately Day One pulled me into his arms, holding me against his chest as I sobbed, years of pain pouring out in great ugly waves. He didn't try to stop me, didn't tell me it was okay, didn't offer empty platitudes. He just held me, his hand stroking through my hair, his heart beating steady beneath my ear. "I've got you," he whispered. "I've got you, baby. Let it out." When I finally stopped, exhausted and wrung out, I pulled back to apologize, and found his eyes wet too. "I'm sorry," I croaked. "Don't." He cupped my face with both hands, his thumbs wiping away my tears. "Don't apologize for feeling. Don't apologize for hurting. You've been so strong for so long, Sungwoo. You don't have to be strong with me." "I don't know how to do this," I confessed. "How to let someone in. How to trust this. Then we'll figure it out together." He pressed his forehead to mine. "One day at a time. One moment at a time. At whatever pace you need." "What if I'm broken?" "You're not broken. You're healing. There's a difference." That night, he held me while we watched a movie, and for the first time in my life I fell asleep in someone's arms feeling safe. It happened gradually, then all at once. One day I was carefully guarding my heart, and the next I was utterly, hopelessly in love with Day One. I loved how he remembered everything I told him, every small detail, every offhand comment. How he'd surprise me with books I'd mentioned wanting to read, or that specific brand of tea I'd mentioned liking once. I loved his fierce protectiveness, the way his entire demeanor changed if anyone so much as looked at me wrong. One of the executives at One Industries had made a thoughtless comment about hiring more diversity, clearly referring to my vitiligo, and Day One had him in his office within minutes, emerging an hour later pale and apologetic. I loved his gentleness with me, the way he always asked before touching, the way he seemed to sense when I needed space or closeness. But more than anything, I loved how he saw me. Not as damaged. Not as pitiable. Not as an Omega who needed to be controlled or protected from himself. He saw me as whole. 3 months into our relationship, he took me to Jeju Island for the weekend. His sister lived there and he wanted me to meet her. She's going to love you, he assured me as we drove from the airport to her seaside cottage. Fair warning, she's going to ask you 1,000 questions and probably try to paint you. She paints everyone she likes. I'm nervous, I admitted. Don't be. Ji-won doesn't judge. She understands what it's like to be different. Ji-won turned out to be a whirlwind, tiny, energetic, with bright purple hair and paint-stained fingers. She took one look at me, squealed, and pulled me into a hug. Oh my God, you're real. I thought Appa was making you up. Ji-won, Dae-won groaned. Please try to act normal for 5 minutes. Normal is boring. She linked her arm through mine. Come on, I want to show you my studio. Appa, you're not invited. This is just for us. Her studio was a converted boathouse overlooking the ocean, filled with canvases in various stages of completion. Her art was vibrant, emotional, full of color and movement. You're talented, I said, genuinely awed. Thanks. She grinned. But I didn't bring you here to show off. I brought you here to tell you that my brother is disgustingly in love with you. I blinked. He is. Are you kidding? He talks about you constantly. Sungwoo said this, Sungwoo did that. Sungwoo smiled at me and I almost died. She laughed. It's actually gross how smitten he is. I didn't know. Her expression softened. You told me about your past, about what you've been through. And I just want you to know, my brother is one of the good ones. He's not going to hurt you. He's not capable of it. Everyone's capable. Not him. She was firm. When I was at my worst, when I wanted to die, he sat with me every single night for months. He made me promise I'd tell him if I ever felt that way again. And he checks in constantly even now. He doesn't give up on people he loves. And he loves you, Sungwoo. Maybe he hasn't said it yet, but he does. Tears pricked my eyes. I love him too. Good. She hugged me again. Then you two can be disgustingly happy together and make me a bunch of nieces and nephews to spoil. That night, we had dinner at a small restaurant overlooking the ocean. Ji-won regaled us with stories of her art shows and the eccentric collectors who bought her work. Dae-won watched me throughout, his hand resting on my thigh beneath the table, his thumb drawing absent circles. After dinner, we walked along the beach, shoes in hand, waves lapping at our feet. Thank you for bringing me here, I said. Your sister is wonderful. She likes you. That's important to me. Why? He stopped walking, turning to face me. The moon was nearly full, casting silver light across the water, across his face, across the patches of pale skin on my hands where I held my shoes. Because you're important to me, Sungwoo. More important than I knew how to say. He took a breath. I love you. I think I've loved you since that first night, since I saw you standing there trying so hard to be brave. And every day since then I've fallen deeper. You're brilliant, kind, resilient, beautiful. Dae-won. Let me finish. His voice was rough with emotion. I know you've been hurt. I know trust is hard for you. And I'm not asking you to say it back if you're not ready. But I needed you to know. I love you. Completely. And I'm not going anywhere. The moon shone down on us, on his face filled with love and hope and vulnerability, and I thought about my grandfather's words. The moon loved you so much she couldn't help but leave her mark. Maybe he'd been right all along. Maybe my marks weren't a curse. Maybe they were proof that I'd always been meant to be loved, exactly as I was. I love you too, I whispered. I'm terrified, but I love you. His smile was radiant. Yeah. He cupped my face, his thumb tracing the vitiligo along my cheekbone. Can I kiss you? Please. Our first kiss tasted like salt air and possibility. It was soft, gentle, questioning, his lips moving against mine with a tenderness that made my knees weak. When we broke apart, both of us were breathless. I've wanted to do that for so long, he murmured against my lips. Then do it again. This time the kiss deepened, his arms pulling me flush against him, one hand sliding into my hair. I gasped and he took the opportunity to sweep his tongue into my mouth, exploring, claiming, worshipping. When we finally broke apart, we were both trembling. We should get back, I said, not meaning it at all. Or, he countered, his voice low and rough, we could go back to our hotel room. Heat flooded through me. Dae-won. Only if you want to. Only ever if you want to, baby. We can wait as long as you need. But I didn't want to wait anymore. I'd spent my entire life holding back, protecting myself, denying myself connection and pleasure and love. And now with this man who saw every scar and mark, and called them beautiful. I don't want to wait, I said. I want you. His eyes darkened. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. He kissed me again, harder this time, before taking my hand and leading me back up the beach. Our hotel room was modest but comfortable, with a window overlooking the ocean. Moonlight streamed through the curtains as we stumbled inside, still kissing, hands roaming, breath coming in desperate gasps. Wait, Daewon said, pulling back. His pupils were blown wide, his lips kiss-swollen, but his voice was steady. Are you sure? Really sure? Because once we start, I don't know if I'll be able to stop, and I need to know you're okay with this. I'm sure. I reached up, cupping his face. Make love to me, Daewon. Please. He groaned, capturing my mouth again, walking me backward until my legs hit the bed. We tumbled onto it together, a tangle of limbs and desperate kisses. His hands found the hem of my shirt. Can I? Yes. All of it. I want all of it. He pulled my shirt over my head, then froze. My torso was a canvas of vitiligo, patches scattered across my chest, my sides, my stomach. I'd always hated this part of myself the most, had avoided mirrors, avoided touch, avoided anything that would force me to confront it. But Daewon looked at me like I was art. Beautiful, he breathed. So fucking beautiful, baby. He kissed my neck, my collarbone, then pressed reverent kisses to each patch he could reach. My shoulder, the center of my chest, my ribs. Perfect. Every part of you is perfect. I was trembling, overwhelmed by sensation and emotion. Daewon, please. Sure, I've got you. He made quick work of the rest of our clothes, and then we were skin to skin, his body hot and solid against mine. His arousal pressed against my hip, thick and hard, and I gasped at the feel of it. You okay? He murmured against my throat. Yes, more. I need more. He reached for the nightstand, pulling out lube and condoms. Apparently he'd been hopeful, and returned his attention to me. His fingers traced down my body, mapping every patch, every sensitive spot, until I was writhing beneath him. So responsive, he praised, his voice rough. Love watching you fall apart for me, baby. When his fingers finally circled my entrance, I arched into the touch, desperate and needy in a way I'd never been before. Have you done this before? He asked gently. Once, I admitted. In university. It wasn't good. I'll make it good. He kissed me deeply. I promise, baby. I'm going to take such good care of you. He was patient, working me open with slick fingers, kissing away every whimper and gasp. By the time he had 3 fingers inside me, stretching and preparing me, I was a wreck, begging incoherently, tears leaking from my eyes. Ready for me? He asked, positioning himself at my entrance. Yes. God, yes, please. He pushed in slowly, so slowly, giving me time to adjust to the burning stretch. The initial pain made me tense, but his hand wrapped around my neglected arousal, stroking in time with his shallow thrusts, until pain transformed into pleasure. Breathe, baby. You're doing so well. Taking me so perfectly. When he was fully seated inside me, we both groaned. He stilled, letting me adjust, pressing kisses to my face, my neck, whispering praise and endearments. Okay, he managed. Move. Please move. He did, establishing a slow, deep rhythm that had me seeing stars. Each thrust hit something inside me that made me cry out, pleasure building and building until I thought I'd shatter. Not going to last, I gasped. Daewon, come for me, baby. Let me see you fall apart. His hand tightened on my arousal, and that was all it took. I came with a broken cry, pleasure exploding through every nerve, my body clenching around him. Fuck, Sungwoo. He thrust once, twice more, then followed me over the edge, my name on his lips like a prayer. We collapsed together, sweat slicked and trembling, hearts pounding in sync. Holy shit, I breathed. He laughed, the sound rumbling through his chest into mine. Yeah. Holy shit. He pressed a kiss to my temple. You okay? Did I hurt you? No. That was perfect. You're perfect. Not as perfect as you. He carefully pulled out, disposed of the condom, then returned with a warm washcloth, cleaning me with gentle touches. When he was done, he climbed back into bed, pulling me against his chest. I love you, he murmured into my hair. I love you too. We fell asleep like that, wrapped in each other, the moon watching over us through the window. The next morning, I woke to sunlight and the smell of coffee. Daewon stood by the window, wearing only his boxers, 2 cups in hand. Morning, beautiful, he said with a smile that made my heart flip. Morning. I sat up, wincing slightly. Concern flashed across his face. Are you sore? I should have been gentler. I'm fine. Good sore. I accepted the coffee gratefully. Last night was incredible. He sat beside me, his free hand finding mine. It really was. Best night of my life. Really? Really? He kissed my knuckles. Being with you, making love to you? Sungwoo, you undo me. You've completely changed my life. You changed mine first. Then we'll keep changing each other's lives. Every day. For as long as you'll have me. I leaned in, kissing him softly. Forever sounds good. Forever sounds perfect. The next 6 months were a blur of happiness I never thought possible. Day one and I moved in together, into a beautiful apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows and enough space that I didn't feel suffocated. He gave me a whole room for whatever I wanted. I turned it into a reading nook. We fell into an easy rhythm. Morning coffee together, work where we maintained professional boundaries, mostly, evenings cooking dinner or ordering in, weekends exploring Seoul or staying in bed. He never stopped treating my vitiligo like it was beautiful. He'd trace the patterns absently while we watched TV, kiss the patches on my shoulders when he woke before me, tell me I glowed like moonlight. Slowly I started believing him. I started wearing short sleeves even in public. Started meeting his eyes in mirrors. Started seeing what he saw, not damage but uniqueness. Not a curse but a mark of survival. One evening, about 8 months into our relationship, Day one came home looking nervous. What's wrong? I asked immediately. Nothing's wrong. I have something for you. He pulled a small box from his jacket pocket. My heart stopped. Day one. It's not what you think. Well, it is, but just open it. Inside was a simple silver ring with a moonstone set in the center, glowing softly in the light. It's a promise ring, he said quickly. I know it's too soon to propose properly, but I wanted you to know I'm serious about us. About forever. This is my promise that when you're ready, whether that's next month or next year or 5 years from now, I'll be here. I'll always be here. Tears blurred my vision. Day one. You don't have to wear it if. Put it on me. His hands shook slightly as he slid the ring onto my finger. It fit perfectly. I love you, I whispered. So much it scares me sometimes. I love you too, baby. More than I thought possible. He cupped my face. Thank you for trusting me. For letting me love you. For loving me back. I kissed him, pouring everything I felt into it. Gratitude, love, hope, promise. That night, we made love slowly, tenderly, his hands and mouth worshipping every inch of my body, whispering promises against my skin. Going to love you forever, he murmured as he moved inside me. Going to wake up next to you every morning and fall asleep holding you every night. Going to build a life with you, baby. Whatever you want. However you want it. Just want you, I gasped. Only ever you. You have me. Always. 2 years later, we stood on a beach in Jeju, the same beach where he'd first told me he loved me, surrounded by close friends and family. Ji-won had designed my suit, incorporating subtle moon patterns and silver thread. Day one wore traditional attire, looking devastating and nervous and so full of love I could barely stand it. I never believed in soulmates, he said during his vows, his voice thick with emotion. But then I met you and everything changed. You're my home, Sungwoo. My peace. My purpose. I promise to love you every day, to protect you always, to remind you how beautiful you are until you believe it as deeply as I do. I promise to build our forever, one moment at a time. I could barely speak through my tears. You saved me, I managed. Not just that night but every day since. You taught me that I was worthy of love, that my differences made me special, not broken. You gave me safety and home and a future I never dreamed possible. I promise to love you fiercely, to trust you completely, to build our life together with everything I am. Thank you for seeing me, for choosing me, for loving me. When we kissed as husbands, the moon was just rising over the ocean, full and bright and beautiful. 3 years after that, I stood in the nursery of our new house, holding our daughter, adopted after a year of paperwork and waiting, and watching Day one assemble the crib with intense concentration. I think you're putting that piece on backward, I said gently. He looked up, saw me smiling and grinned back. Probably. I'm terrible at this. Good thing we're in this together then. He crossed to me, wrapping his arms around us both, pressing a kiss to my temple. Our daughter, Minaseo, named after my grandfather, yawned and snuggled closer. She's perfect, he whispered. Just like her appa. Which one? Both. He looked at me with so much love it still took my breath away even after 5 years. I'm so happy, Sungwoo. So completely, impossibly happy. Me too. And I was. The boy who'd been called cursed, who'd been taught to hide and shrink and disappear, had found everything he'd never dared to dream of. Well, family. Home. Peace. And every morning when I looked in the mirror at the patches of pale skin across my face and body, I thought of my grandfather's words, now proven true. The moon loved you so much she couldn't help but leave her mark. Not a curse. A blessing. A map that led me exactly where I needed to be. Years later, Minaseo came home from school crying. At 8 years old, she was starting to understand that she looked different from other kids, adopted with darker skin than her Korean parents. Daewon and I sat with her, holding her close as she sobbed. Why do I look different? She asked. Why can't I just be normal? I lifted her chin gently. Minasioya, being different isn't bad. It's what makes you special. You know Apis patches? I gestured to my vitiligo. People used to tell me these were ugly, that I was cursed, but your Abba sees them as beautiful. And now I do too. Really? Really? And someday you'll see that your beautiful brown skin, your history, everything that makes you different, it's all part of your story. A story that led you to us. And we love every part of you. Daewon kissed her forehead. You're perfect exactly as you are, sweetheart. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. She sniffled, then looked up at us with those big, earnest eyes. Do you think I'll find someone who loves me like you love each other? I smiled. I think you'll find exactly what you need when you need it, just like we did. Promise. Promise. Later that night, after Minacio was asleep, Daewon and I stood on our back deck, looking up at the full moon. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? For taking a chance on me. On us. For letting me love you. I leaned against him, his arms wrapping around me from behind. Thank you for seeing me when I'd learned to hide. For teaching me I was worth being seen. Always, baby. Always. The moon shone down on us, on my patched skin, on our joined hands, on the life we'd built together, and I thought, this is what happiness feels like. Being seen. Being loved. Being whole. Not despite my differences, but because of them. The moon had kissed me all those years ago, marking me as someone special. It just took meeting the right person to understand what that meant. I was always meant to be loved exactly as I was. And I was, finally, completely, perfectly loved. The house was finally quiet. Minacio had fallen asleep an hour ago, exhausted from her dance recital and the celebration dinner that followed. Daewon had carried her to bed, and I'd watched from the doorway as he tucked her in, kissing her forehead and whispering how proud he was of her. Now we were alone in our bedroom, the door locked, the world outside forgotten. I stood by the window, looking out at the garden bathed in moonlight. 10 years. 10 years since that night when Daewon had stepped between me and my tormentor. 10 years of learning to love myself, to accept love, to believe I deserved happiness. And still he made my heart race. Strong arms wrapped around me from behind, his chest warm against my back. What are you thinking about? Daewon murmured, his lips brushing my ear. How far we've come. He pressed a kiss to the side of my neck, right where my vitiligo bloomed across my skin. I'm thinking about how incredible you look today, cheering for Minacio. How much I love you. How badly I want you right now. Heat flooded through me. Even after all these years, his desire still undid me. Yeah. Always. His hand slid under my shirt, palms warm against my stomach. Can I have you tonight, baby? Want to make love to my beautiful husband. I turned in his arms, meeting those dark eyes that still looked at me like I was everything. I'm yours. Always yours. His kiss was deep, claiming, full of promise. His tongue swept into my mouth as his hands roamed, one sliding up to cup my face, thumb tracing the vitiligo along my cheekbone, the other gripping my hip, pulling me flush against him. I could feel his arousal pressing against me, thick and hard, and I moaned into his mouth. Bed? He growled against my lips. Now. We stumbled toward the bed, shedding clothes between desperate kisses. By the time we fell onto the mattress, we were both naked, skin against skin, hands everywhere. Daewon rolled me onto my back, settling between my thighs, his weight perfect and grounding. He pulled back to look at me, really look at me, his gaze traveling over my face, my chest, my arms. Still the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, he said softly. After all this time, the compliment still made me flush. Daewon. It's true. He leaned down, pressing kisses to each patch of vitiligo on my chest. Love these marks. Love everything about you. His mouth traveled lower, tongue tracing patterns across my stomach, teeth grazing sensitive skin. When he reached my arousal, already hard and leaking, I gasped. Please? Patience, baby. He licked a stripe up my length, making me arch off the bed. Want to take my time with you tonight. Want to worship every inch of you. He took me into his mouth, hot and wet, and I couldn't stop the cry that tore from my throat. His tongue was talented, knowing exactly how to reduce me to a trembling mess. Daewon, stop, I'm going to. He pulled off with a wet pop. Not yet. Need you to come on my cock, baby. Need to feel you fall apart around me. He reached for the nightstand, pulling out lube, and I spread my legs wider in invitation. We'd done this countless times, but it never stopped feeling intimate, vulnerable, perfect. His fingers, slick and warm, circled my entrance before pressing inside. I was already relaxed from earlier play and he slid in easily, finding that spot inside me that made me see stars. God, you're so responsive, he praised, working me open with 2 fingers, then 3. Love how you fall apart for me. Only for me. Only you, I gasped. Only ever you. When he withdrew his fingers, I whimpered at the loss. But then he was positioning himself at my entrance, the thick head of his arousal pressing against me. Ready? He asked, always asking, always making sure. Yes. Please, day one. Need you. He pushed in slowly, carefully, despite my body knowing him by heart. The stretch was intense, perfect, filling me completely until I couldn't tell where I ended and he began. Fuck, he groaned, his forehead dropping to mine. Still so tight. So perfect for me. When he was fully seated inside me, we both stilled, breathing hard, hearts pounding in sync. His hand found mine, fingers interlacing, pinning it to the pillow beside my head. I love you, he whispered. So fucking much, Sungwoo. You're everything. Love you too. Move please. He did, establishing a slow, deep rhythm that had me gasping with each thrust. He knew my body perfectly, knew exactly how to angle his hips to hit that spot inside me that made pleasure spark through my entire nervous system. Touch yourself, he commanded softly. Want to watch you fall apart. My free hand wrapped around my neglected arousal, stroking in time with his thrusts. The dual stimulation was overwhelming. His thickness inside me, my hand on myself, his eyes locked on mine with so much love and desire I could barely stand it. That's it, baby. So beautiful like this, taking me so well. Made for me, weren't you? Yes, I moaned. Made for you. Only you. He shifted, hooking my leg over his shoulder, changing the angle, and suddenly every thrust was hitting exactly right. Pleasure built at the base of my spine, coiling tighter and tighter. Close, I gasped. Daewon, I'm so close. Come for me, baby. Want to feel you. His hand covered mine on my arousal, stroking harder, faster, and that was all it took. I came with his name on my lips, pleasure exploding through me, my body clenching rhythmically around him. Sung, fuck. He thrust twice more, then followed me over the edge, spilling inside me with a groan that I felt in my bones. We stayed like that for long moments, trembling and gasping, coming down from the high together. Finally, carefully, he pulled out and rolled to the side, immediately pulling me against his chest. God, I love you, he murmured into my hair. Every damn day I love you more. I traced the vitiligo patches on my arm, now marked with his fingerprints and sweat. I never thought I could have this. Be loved like this. You deserve this and more. He tilted my chin up, kissing me softly. You deserve everything, Sungwoo. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving it. You already have. He smiled against my lips. Then I'll spend the rest of my life reminding you. We lay together in the moonlight streaming through the window, my marked skin glowing pale and beautiful in the silvery light. His fingers traced the patterns absently, reverently, like they always did. Your grandfather was right, he said quietly. The moon did kiss you. Marked you as someone special. Someone meant to be cherished. I turned in his arms, pressing my forehead to his. I'm glad it led me to you. Me too, baby. Me too. Outside, the moon watched over us, full and bright and constant. And I thought about how far I'd come from that terrified, broken boy who'd learned to hide himself away. Now I was loved, cherished, whole. And every mark on my skin was proof not of a curse, but of a journey, one that led me exactly where I needed to be. In the arms of the man who saw me, truly saw me, and loved every single part. Round 2. Daewon murmured with a wicked grin, his hands sliding down my back. I laughed, pulling him closer. Always. Because this love, this life, this man, was everything I'd never dared to dream of. And I was never letting go.